Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to another special edition of Dreamstruck. We are so excited because tonight we have a very special guest on, and he is Kevin Kirkpatrick from Home Office. And we have a very special topic to discuss tonight as well. This has been kind of a hot topic for the past month or so, and it's the do's and don'ts with our licensed product agreements. And it doesn't have to be scary at all. So we're going to touch on some of the questions that we proposed over the past few days and make sure that we can get some clarity out there. We want to make sure that we protect these agreements that we have with our partnerships and maybe have some more new ones in the future as well. So before we get started, I do want to introduce all of the superstar directors so we can know all the groups that are being represented tonight, and we'll just kind of go around very quickly. If you can introduce yourself, panelists, and then also let us know in your introduction, what is your favorite licensed product so far to date with Scentsy?
Hi, Kevin.
All right, go ahead and introduce yourself.
This is Debbie, DPP here. And my favorite Disney is the Cinderella. Yeah, that's the whole entire line.
All right, next.
I'll go next. Hi, y'all. My name is Dorothy Sanchez, and my favorite licensed product is anything Star Wars.
All right, I'll go next. My name is Amber Turner, and my favorite is the Up Warmer. I have it right there on my desk. My favorite.
So cute.
Oh, this is so hard. Hi, everybody. This is Emily Goodnet, and my favorite scent is Angel, the Angel Wax Bar. I absolutely love that fragrance.
I'll go. Kelly Rashaw, and I think I can't choose a favorite, but I'll choose a whole character line. I'll take Beauty and the Beast because I love everything. So every time any of it comes out, I buy it for myself.
Beauty and the Beast. Oh my gosh. Okay. And I am, of course, Teresa Gosh. I'm here in Abilene, Texas. And this is really hard to choose. I want to say that my favorite licensed product to date has to be Dumbo. Very sentimental, just reminds me of my childhood, and watching the movie with my sister is just really touches my heart. So, all right. So thank you guys for introducing yourselves. We are just really represented all over the United States and also Canada. Emily's in Canada with her group. And so here we are, Kevin. We are so happy and excited to have you with us tonight. Thanks for taking time out of your evening to be with us. If you don't mind just introducing yourself, Kevin, to everyone that may not know exactly who you are. What is your title with Scentsy? How long have you been with Scentsy? And what is your job scope?
Absolutely. Happy to do that. But first, I'd have to say my favorite licensed product so far, if I have my Chief Strategy Officer hat on, that's my title here at Scentsy, Chief Strategy Officer, would have to be probably the original Nightmare Before Christmas warmer, because we have sold a gazillion of those things, and it is probably driven the most licensing revenue of any single product. But Harry Potter is going to come close. That being said, if personally, my family and I, big Star Wars geeks, so I got to say the Darth Vader warmer with the red lights that actually have the spaceships that go on the wall, the TIE fighters. That is like the coolest product ever. So now you know a little bit about me. As I mentioned, I'm Chief Strategy Officer here at Scentsy. I joined in May of 2012. So my 10-year Scentiversary is coming up really soon here. I'll be with the company for 10 years. It's absolutely flown by, and I consider it an absolute privilege and a joy to work for this amazing company and to be in the service of you and the rest of our consultants. It's an incredibly rewarding job, and I'm blessed to be part of the Scentsy family. And thanks so much for having me here with you guys today. This is, I've met most of the superstar directors on here, and you've got quite a rock star group of SSDs here. Good to see everybody again. So as Chief Strategy Officer, I work with Dan and the rest of the executive team to map out our annual goals and our annual strategic plan for the year. And I get involved with Orville and Heidi and Dan and others in mapping out our long-term strategic plan. And then I work across departments to try to take our limited resources and help focus them in on ways that we can best achieve those goals, right? We have limited resources here at the home office. We can't do everything. We'd love to do everything, and we get amazing amount of ideas and suggestions from all of you, but we just can't do it all. So what are those things that we can do to really focus in and have the best impact on the consultants' businesses as a whole? And one of those things is licensing. That's something that has proven to create a lot of excitement within the consultant base, and a lot of sales, as I mentioned earlier, for sure. So in addition to sort of strategic planning, I am an executive sponsor in a number of different areas, and one of those is mapping out our strategic licensing partner roadmap. So I don't necessarily determine each and every product that we're going to do. A lot of that comes from the product team and Michael Borg and others, but in terms of working with Michael and Lacey and others to determine, who are we going to partner with, right? And then I go out and I work to try to get a licensing agreement in place with people like Warner Brothers, so we can do Harry Potter warmers and things like that. And I've been working on a few right now that I'm super excited to announce, but I can't tell you, but it's really exciting. So especially for some of our R2 and R3 consultants. So I'll just leave that there. And I have been playing a major role in the Disney Alliance that we recently announced at the incentive trip in 2021 at Disney World. And so I am heavily involved in bringing that partnership to life and making sure that we get the most out of that we can for consultants. And for Scentsy, let's see, did I hit them all there? Good questions in terms of my role. Does that help?
Yes. And I love that you're a Star Wars fan. So is my husband.
Yeah, my son tells me I'm not a fan because I don't have all of the movies and the cartoons and everything memorized. So
oh gosh,
he's got me beat there.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So do you want me to just jump into some of the general background on some of the licensing before we tackle some of these specific questions?
Yeah,
that'd be helpful.
You could do that. One of the things that we wanted to express before we jump into, the do's and the don'ts is, in order to get these amazing agreements that I'm sure was not easy. Some of them probably took years to accomplish. I don't know if everyone understands that background. But some of these guidelines are from, our partners. They want to protect their brand. So maybe if you can talk a little bit about that, and then we can dive into some of the do's and the don'ts. People will understand that a little bit better.
Yeah, it's a great idea. So yeah, as Teresa mentioned, there's a few of these licensing partners that we've been years in the making. I think the NFL is a great example. I think it was over 6 years. For a long time, they just never returned our phone calls or emails or anything. And finally, after a lot of different effort, we were able to get a hold of them. And at that time, the NFL was similar to a lot of our other partners. They're not familiar with direct sales, right? You don't see a lot of licensing in direct selling. You do see some, but a lot of times these partners will not be familiar with our model, and they will put their standard terms and conditions and say, oh, here, sign here. And we're like, oh, hold on, that actually won't work in our case because we have 300,000 independent consultants, and here's how they work. And so we have to spend a fair amount of time educating them on our channel and how we sell our products. And it's amazing, right? A lot of times they may not have heard us, and they may not understand direct selling and how it works. And so we have to go through a process with our lawyers and the business people And I have to spend time convincing the business people on their side to convince their lawyers to make changes to the contract so that we can actually sign it. And sometimes this can take 6 months to a year or longer just to get from the stage of where they've shown interest in partnering to us to getting a signed licensing agreement. And we go back and forth and all that. And we've learned a lot over time about licensing and interacting with our partners. So when we worked with the MLB, who was here when we had MLB ones? Everybody, yeah? So when we partnered with the MLB, we had incredibly strict rules. I don't know if you remember, but the rules for MLB were very specific to MLB and they were very tight. You couldn't even mention the team name in the post, right? Which seems really silly, but they were incredibly protective of their intellectual property, right? And that is something that all of these brands are, because it is their most valuable thing is their brand, right? If you look up at the most valuable brands in the world, you can do a Google on what is the Disney brand worth, right? It's billions of dollars. So they go through extreme measures and they outline extreme things in their contracts to protect their intellectual property and their brand because it is so valuable to them. And what they're doing is when we sign a licensing agreement, they're giving us permission to use some of their intellectual property in certain ways, right? It doesn't give us carte blanche to be able to just go do anything we want with their intellectual property, but it gives us the ability to make products. It gives us the ability to create marketing materials, and it gives us some things that we can do that we outline in the licensed product marketing guidelines. So if you don't have this document, it's blurry, isn't it? Is that better if I have it? Search on your workstation, just you can search licensed product guidelines. It will be the first thing that comes up in the results, right? Print this off, download it to your computer, email it to your teams, get familiar with it. It's one page, it's pretty simple, and it has the do's and don'ts on it. And as I went through a lot of your questions, what I noticed is they're covered here in this document. So it should be really handy. So they protect their IP, and there's certain rules that we get access to do certain things, but we don't have carte blanche. And what we're doing now is we want to avoid what happened with the MLB. They were so strict and so, and they enforced their rules to the point where consultants were too scared to market the product. And sales of MLB products weren't very good. And I thought the warmers were great. But the reality was consultants were scared to market that because they thought they were going to get turned into compliance. The rules were too strict. And so as we went and partnered with new partners like the NFL and Disney and Warner Brothers, what we tried to do is get them to agree to our marketing guidelines. It's relatively simple. It's like, look, we're going to do this. Are you okay with this? As long as we do this, are we good? And we've gotten our newer partners to agree to this. And that makes it much easier for all the consultants, because now they know, hey, if I just follow the licensed marketing guidelines, whether it's for Disney or Warner Brothers or NFL or any of our other partners, then they know they're in compliance. So we've tried to simplify it, make it easy, because what the last thing we want to do is go out and get an agreement in place with a partner and consultants are scared or don't want to engage because of fear of compliance, right? So hopefully we've tried to simplify it and make it easier for you, and that's not the case. And we don't want any of your consultants to be scared to market these products. In fact, that breaks my heart when I see someone say, it's so complicated, or I'm too scared, I don't want to get turned into compliance, because I think you're missing out for your business on a huge opportunity with licensed products to either grow your sales or even get new customers. Because that's one of the reasons we go out and get these licensed partners. And that's one reason it falls under strategy, is we're strategically picking partners that open up potentially new markets for us, right? Star Wars is more of a male dominated opportunity. So strategically, that's one of the reasons we partnered with them, so that we can get customers who may otherwise not be interested in Scentsy to be interested in Scentsy products, and then become addicted to the fragrance, and then become long-term customers, right? So we strategically select them to try and either overlap really well with our customer base to increase your sales, or potentially give you new opportunities to get new customers. So if your team members aren't using it in that way, they're potentially missing out on an opportunity. So yeah, it takes a long time to get these in place. We're really trying to get them all to align to these rules. It's just a one-page simple form. And generally speaking, we can use the intellectual property that we provide. Consultants can use the intellectual property that we provide to you because it's approved. For example, the marketing assets, the images, and the other things that we put on the workstation for you, because our partners have reviewed and approved those and said, yes, go for it. We like it. You used all the right words. You kept Scentsy, the logo, far enough. I swear to God, we have to do this. The Scentsy logo has to be, at least 1.42 inches away from the other partner's logo, and you can't do it right. So we go through all that and do that for you so that you can use those images and use them freely. And if you just use what we provide, or your team members just use what's provided on the workstation, most of the time, they're never going to get in trouble, right? Because that's all approved imagery. And then if they apply the guidelines as well, then they'll always be in compliance. We run into issues when people want to go and do their own thing, which we encourage, right? Because everybody wants to set themselves apart. We just can't overstep some of the bounds that are out there, and we can't misuse or abuse intellectual property or use it in a way that we're not approved to. And that's what hopefully the guidelines help with. That being said, for compliance with licensed products, I think the rules are pretty simple, but the gray area is as big as the ocean, right? And it really depends on multiple factors. It depends on the words you use, it depends on the image itself, and it depends on where you put that image. And you have to consider all three of those things in context to determine whether you're in compliance or not. So in one case, you might have the right words. They're approved words. I used the approved words. You told me they were approved. Oh, but it also has to be with an approved image used in the right way in the right place. So alternatively, you might have an approved image, but you might have the wrong words. Or you might have an approved image and approved words, but you go out and put it on a Disney fan page. That's the wrong place. It's not allowed. It's out of compliance. So it's not, the rules are simple, but whether or not you're in compliance depends on a lot more, and especially those three things. So if you ever have a question, that is what compliance is for. If you say, hey, I'm not sure if this is in compliance, I want to send it into compliance. They'll tell you whether it's okay or not. That is what compliance is there for. And don't be afraid, because you're not going to get in trouble. You're going to get educated. They'll inform you on how to do what you're trying to do in a compliant way. So they're a tool and a resource, not to be feared, so to speak. So I'm going to provide some general guidelines as we go through this today. But just remember that while you think you might, hey, Kevin said I could do this. Well, yes, but all those three things apply, right? And you may think you were following what I said, but you could still be out of compliance because you put it in the wrong place, or it was great image, wrong words, those kind of things. So at the end of the day, right, compliance is the one that they're going to be the end all be all. And I honestly, I won't say I'm a compliance expert, but I'm hoping I can provide you with some good knowledge and tools and guidelines today. Okay. But yeah, use compliance as a resource.
And for those that want to know how to reach compliance, you can just simply either email compliance@scentsy.com or just go to your workstation, and you can click on the customer. There's a customer service link at the top, and you can open a ticket, and you can choose from the drop-down compliance and ask any questions that you might have. Everything is not going to be covered tonight, but at least some of the questions that we submitted from last week's Google form, though, that will be reviewed. But again, if you ever have anything personally in question, compliance is a wealth of knowledge, and they're definitely the go-to. You can also sometimes call customer service and ask to speak to compliance. If someone's available, they can dispatch you over there too. Okay.
That is some good info. You guys are in good hands. Well said.
Thank you.
Well said. Yeah. Let's see. So one other general thing that I think, remember, we don't have carte blanche when we have a license agreement. We have very specific access to IP and ways that we can use that IP. Generally speaking, aside from what has been approved and what's in the guidelines, you can't just use someone else's IP to market your products or the business opportunity, right? Generally speaking, that's a no-no, unless we have a approval to use it a certain way. And I think that'll answer a lot of questions. So imagine this, right? Turn it around. Imagine there was a fragrance company, or maybe even another fragrance consultant that worked for doTERRA or somebody. And they put up a big Scentsy logo and said, which fragrance do you like the best? This one, or this one? Contact me to buy, these essential oils. And they're doTERRA essential oils. Do you think Scentsy would allow that? Oh, absolutely not, right? There's no way in heck we would, and that's the same way. We protect our intellectual property the same way that Disney, the NFL, Warner Brothers, and others protect their intellectual property. It's not just available on the open market for anybody to use to go and try to drive a business opportunity or get product sales, right? But there are, when we create a licensing partnership, there are some limited areas and limited scope where we do have the ability to use it. And that's the beautiful thing of the licensing agreement. It's just not carte blanche. Okay. Should we jump into the questions?
Yes, let's do it. Thanks for all that intro and that background.
You bet. You bet. All right, first one. Can we post marketing images in licensed fan groups on social media? The answer to that is no, but the second part of the question was, what if we are the admin of said group? So if you are the admin or you have a relationship with the person, you have written permission from the admin, then you can post on that group. So generally no, unless you have written permission or you are the admin yourself or a fan group on social media. And there are some consultants who do have relationships with people that have fan sites. So if you see that, it's not necessarily out of compliance. They may have written permission, or they maybe they host a fan site. Okay, hopefully that answers that question. Number two was, what are the proper guidelines we must follow when we share marketing images on Instagram or Facebook stories? So it's interesting that they said Instagram or Facebook stories. Generally, the guidelines are the same. They're not different, right? They're the same as if you shared it on Facebook or you shared it on via email and other things. The guidelines are the guidelines. There is one area that is a little confusing, and I think that's on Instagram stories, where if you put something in the caption, Instagram will actually put that over the image. And because you didn't do that, you didn't design it that way, but that's the actual application doing it, that's okay. Right? That's an area that's a little bit gray, but it doesn't allow you to not do that. And that's the only time it's acceptable. So, by the way, the chat is moving up. I'm just going to go through these. We can tackle some of the other questions maybe at the end if we have time. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So yeah, the guidelines are pretty much the same. But if you go and I don't want us to go, I want to arm everybody to go be successful with marketing licensed products. What I don't want to do is turn you into the compliance police, right? I don't want to give you tools to go bang people over the head with them. That's not why I'm here today. I'm here to give you tools to properly market your business. But we do respond to compliance complaints. But again, my intent here tonight is not to turn you into the licensing compliance police. You can leave that up to us, or if you have blatant issues that you think are hurting the company, then you could send those to compliance and we'll look into them. All right, next question. What is the link to the most updated licensed product standards? So I don't have the link myself, but like I said, there's two things you should have handy. One is this document I said, where you can search licensed product guidelines. It'll be the first one to come up on the workstation. The second one I would say is super helpful. Same thing, have it on handy, download it, send it to your teams, whatever, is licensed product FAQ. So frequently asked questions. The combination of these two items, if you ever have questions, first place you should go is check the FAQ and check the guidelines. And a lot of them times that'll answer your questions. So they should be easy to find. When I searched licensed product FAQ and filtered on training, it came right up.
Yep, and I think Emily Goodneck actually included a link in the chat. And when we recap this session, we will include it in our notes as well.
Cool, thanks, Emily. All right, next question. Are new consultants informed about licensing product standards when they join? New consultant, i.e. new consultant checklist. So no, it's not currently part of the onboarding process or the new consultant checklist. But I hope that leaders and sponsors offer up informed folks about the new product standards. And if not the standards themselves, at least point them to the guidelines and where they can find the answers, the FAQ and the marketing guidelines. So, we can't put everything in that new consultant checklist. I could pass that on to the team as an option to consider for inclusion, but we really want to keep that onboarding checklist, that new consultant checklist, to the first things first and the most important things to get their Scentsy businesses off the ground. And right now, we have not included the licensing standard guidelines as one of those absolutely critical. The key to that is to keep that checklist as short as possible, but as long as necessary, right? As short as possible, but as long as necessary. And rely on other methods for people to come up to speed on some of the other parts of the business, including leaders and training materials on the workstation. Okay, cool. Let's see. Do you want me to just keep going through these questions, or do we want to have dialogue, or we'll just do this afterwards, go through the...
Yeah, I figure we could run through the questions. I think when it comes to the standards though, when we first started our first partnership with Disney, there is a video of like do's and don'ts from Heidi Orville that's still on the workstation. And a lot has kind of evolved since then. So I'm glad that you pointed out the FAQ and the quick guidelines for us to reference. I believe that some of those maybe outdated videos might be kind of glanced at or could be. Someone asked a question about hashtags, and I think that's one of the questions that you might review. That was one of the strict components with Disney, and I think they may have laxed on that a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. When we first launched with Disney, we knew the value of this partnership. We had forecasted sales, and we knew that we wanted this to be a long-term relationship that had, because there's so much intellectual property, and we knew that they had concerns, right? How are you going to control 300,000 people and make sure that they don't damage our brand, right? And we convinced them that we have a robust process in place. We have guidelines, and so we came out when we first launched with a very strong compliance stance, which I think was the right thing to do, but we had that same response that we had with the MLB, where people were like, "Oh, I'm scared. I'm out. I'm not even going to market it," right? So we went back to Disney and said, "Look, we understand, and we've been strong, and our consultants are complying. They're showing that they can do this. we'd like to evolve the guidelines to make it easier for them to understand and more willing to engage. And so we were able to, as the relationship matured and we earned a level of trust, we have ratcheted some of those requirements down. And yes, you can use hashtags, and we encourage you to use hashtags. I'm going to read directly from the marketing guidelines because there is one in here on hashtags. It says, do use hashtags. They're a fun way to market licensed collections, and we encourage you to use them on all your social media marketing. Scentsy will sometimes provide hashtags, encourage you to use them when we do. That's just to get it trending and to try to create some momentum there. If you create your own, try to use specific character or organization names like hashtag Mickey Mouse, hashtag NFL. The only hashtags you can't use are those that suggest a licensed partner is endorsing or promoting Scentsy or you or your products or your business opportunity, right? So hashtag Disney loves Scentsy. Can't do that. Hashtag Disney and Teresa are a perfect match made in heaven. Can't do that either. But you can use hashtag Mickey Mouse, hashtag Mickey and Minnie, right? Hashtag Cinderella, all those things, and you can make them fun. You can do that all day long. You just can't make it sound like Disney is endorsing you or the products or the business opportunity. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. I remember, again, just a few years ago where they specifically wanted, Winnie the Pooh and Scentsy, and it couldn't be Scentsy and Winnie the Pooh, and I was like, oh my gosh, so I'm not using any hashtags. So I just, on behalf of all of us, want to say thank you for going back to them and, getting that relaxed a little bit for us.
Yeah, there were times we had to use the official name, right, of the product. And so it had, and the official name can get pretty long and it looks crazy. So yeah, we just want to make it to where it's easy for you guys. And Disney's been a great partner. And the great news is when you have Disney, by the way, you could Google this, I don't know, Disney is far and away the largest licensing company in the world. I think they do this, like, it's billions and billions of dollars that they get in licensing revenue. And I think the next company, I think it's like, I don't want to misspeak, 20 to 30 billion. And the next person's down to like 2 billion, the next company, right? It's far and away the biggest licensing company. So when we have them on board and we can go to other companies and say, look, we're doing this with Disney. We'd love to do a deal with you. Can you live with this too? Because Disney can live with this. And let me tell you, it goes a long way when you're partnering with Disney and you can use that as a kind of a precedence.
Yeah, so, we've been dreaming to have a partnership with Disney. I've been with Scentsy for 7.5 years. And so when it was announced in Anaheim, I think all of us about flipped our lids, like, are you kidding me? But can you kind of talk about the new announcement that happened in June that we are the official fragrance company of Walt Disney World? What does that mean?
Yeah, that's super exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So first thing I want to do is distinguish between the two agreements we have. The first agreement we have is with Walt Disney Studios, and that gives us access to studio intellectual property like Cinderella, like Mickey Mouse, right? Stuff from the movies, stuff from the cartoons, stuff from the things that you see on TV and or in the movies, right? That is studio IP. And that our licensing agreement gives us access to make those products and to market them through consultants. However, they, like I mentioned, are the largest licensing company in the world, and they will continue to partner with other companies to get that licensing revenue. We are by no means an exclusive licensing partner, right? So you'll see other fragrance companies, like Pura is one that's out there that has Disney licensed fragrance products, and you'll see them around, but that is only studio IP. What you won't see from any of those companies is Walt Disney World park intellectual property. So think about the castle itself. There's a reason that we have not come out with a Disney castle, right? How long have we had the Disney? When did we announce that? That was at SFR in 2017?
Yeah.
I think, right?
Oh, it was 2018.
2018?
Oh.
Okay, thank you. It all runs together. 2018, right? The first product you'd think we'd come out with is the Disney castle. That's what everybody's asked for, right? We couldn't do a Disney castle under the license agreement. That is park intellectual property. The characters walking around in the park in the 3D, right? That is park intellectual. Haunted Mansion is park intellectual property. All the rides, all the fragrances in the park. So Puro, yeah, they can do a Frozen collection, but they could never do a Main Street fragrance collection, right? Because they do not have a partnership with Walt Disney World. They only have the studio license. And that partnership with Walt Disney World, which provides us the ability to market our products as the official home fragrance of Walt Disney World, that is exclusive. They will not give that to another fragrance company. That is only us. So yeah, lots of people could do the licensing side with studio IP, but very few. And in fact, we made sure our partnership was exclusive for our product set to us, and that nobody else could come in, at least during the tenure of our contract, and become a partner with Walt Disney World and be able to market products with park IP. It also gives us the ability to use that marketing designation. So the marketing designation, I think, is what throws people off, because it says the official home fragrance of Walt Disney World. Oh, does that mean Scentsy's going to be in all the hotels? No. Does that mean Scentsy fragrances are flowing throughout the entire park? No. Does that mean, what does that mean? It doesn't mean necessarily it only means what we end up working with Walt Disney World on to bring to life. And we will have, as a result of this partnership, a permanent presence in the Magic Kingdom that will use fragrance to enhance the guest experience, right? And you'll see this throughout the park. There's a few brands, probably, I think there's 20 to 25 corporate alliance partners, of which most are like Coca-Cola, GM, really large Starbucks, right? There's a few smaller companies like Pandora, Joffrey's Coffee. H2O Plus has a relationship. They're the ones that have the shampoo and stuff in the hotels and the resorts, right? But so we will have access, and they will use the partnership to create opportunities to enhance the guest experience using Scentsy fragrance, and we get the marketing rights as a result. So it's a trade-off. So we're going to go build this Scentsy fragrance experience in the Magic Kingdom. That's a permanent deal. And we will be able to participate in like the Epcot Flower and Garden Festival, which we recently announced, right? We're going to work with them to create this Scentsy branded experience that enhances their guest experience through fragrance, right? No other fragrance companies are going to be able to do that, right? And that's in the park. And that's as a result of our relationship. And because we have this relationship, and because we're working with them to enhance the guest experience, we get the rights to use in North America, because it is geographically driven by the Disney agreement, the Disney contract, because they have other parks in other parts of the world. For us to be able to market, use the marketing designation in Europe, they want us to partner and sign another agreement with Walt Disney World Paris, because they have they align their parks to the different geographies. So North America, North and South, is Walt Disney World and or Disneyland. Europe is Paris. Asia is Tokyo or Shanghai, right? So
So Kevin, sorry to jump in. This is just a really great time to say it. I'm planning a trip to Disney with my family, let's say, and I want to advertise my business while we're there. You know, we've got that designation. We have all these amazing limited time offers with Disney products. I want to share samples of the different licensed products and give things while I'm at the park. Can you talk a little bit on what we can do while at the resort itself?
Yeah, I can. It'll be quick. In fact, I'm going to refer you to a news article that we posted on the 21st, which is yesterday, which says this is an absolute no-go, right? We have not been given permission from Disney to interrupt the guest experience at the parks. That is just not on the table. In fact, that would actually jeopardize the long-term relationship between us. If we did, part of the reason you very rarely see any brands, Disney controls the guest experience exquisitely. And we'll learn about some of this at the Disney Institute training, which is another, for the SSDs, which is another thing that we have access to as a result of this relationship. But they're very intentional about their guest experience. And so they go to great lengths to curate that guest experience. And what they don't want is just someone come along and interrupt that guest experience. So this is a big no. So no handing out catalogs, no handing out any marketing materials, but you can wear your Scentsy shirt in there all day long. And if somebody comes up and asks you, oh, Scentsy, what is that? You can have a conversation with them, but you can't initiate the conversation, go around talking to people, say, hey, have you ever heard of Scentsy? Have you ever heard of Scentsy? Have you ever heard of Scentsy? That's interrupting the guest experience. That's a no. But you can respond if they ask you. And if somebody says, hey, I used to have a Scentsy consultant and they're not a consultant anymore, can you give me do you have any catalogs? You're like, hey, can I take your name? I'll get back to you and I can send you one, or I can drop you one off if you happen to be, if they live in your area, right? But no transaction, no handing out of materials in the park.
So no peddling, no trench coats with I got a bar for you. And no samples in the bathrooms, no room sprays on the back of the toilets. They'll be confiscated.
You got it. That is
Okay.
Absolutely correct.
Can I ask this question? How does it work when you have your own products? For example, one of the Scentsy buddies, one of our licensed Scentsy buddies, what is the rule for you? Well, taking a selfie, for example, what's the rule for that? If you were to post that on social media or go live with it, how can we market that, or can we?
So that's a great question. And I think that came up in some of those. I would have got to that, but let's talk about that now. So there's two different ways that you can use an image. Remember, I talked about all the three things. So it all depends on how you use that image, right? You can use what's called user-generated content all day long. So that's you as a guest at Disneyland. Imagine you weren't a Scentsy consultant and you had a Scentsy buddy. You can go into Disneyland, Disney World, right? Take pictures of you with your Scentsy buddy all day long and post them on social media all day long. And you as a Scentsy consultant, you could do the same thing. But you cross a line when you're in the park and you're using the park IP around it, and you're trying to market your product. So if you have a call to action, you say, look at my Scentsy buddy here in front of the castle, contact me to buy it. That's where you're crossing the line. But if you posted that same picture and just said, having a blast at Disney World with my buddy, you could do that all day long. But it's when you cross the line and use that picture that has Disney intellectual property in the background to try and market the product or the business opportunity, right? That's the key. Now, if you were at home and you did user-generated content that didn't have park IP in the background or anything, and you wanted to say, love my Scentsy buddies, contact me to buy one, that's okay, right? But not when you're in the park, because now you're using park IP to try and sell the product. Does that help?
Yes, that really helps a lot.
And that goes online. That's a great question, Debbie. Someone else asked that we do a lot of unboxing videos whenever we get an order in. And let's say we're unboxing an order and it has Harry Potter, but then it may have some of our Luna blueberry cheesecake fragrance bars. It's okay to do that because that's user generated content and we're just sharing the contents of our box. Right, Kevin?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And in fact, I'll read from the do's and don'ts again on the licensed product marketing guidelines. It says, do create user-generated content by taking your own photos of the actual products, like a photo of a family member smelling a bar. Just be sure you don't add words or stickers over the image. So you can't modify the image and cover the product, but you can add your own captions.
Okay, I love that. And so that brings on another question too. And this is a question that we get often. Stories are just the way to go with social media, with Instagram and Facebook. Are we allowed to use music like the Star Wars theme with Darth Vader's Warmer or the Winnie the Pooh song? What are the restrictions when it comes to, Instagram and Facebook stories?
Good question. So again, this goes back to, it depends on how you want to use it. So if you want to use it in a post that is marketing a product or marketing the business opportunity, the answer is no. We have not been given rights from Disney to use songs, song lyrics, or anything to market our products. And you haven't been given those rights from Disney either. Even though we have a partnership with Walt Disney World and stuff, that is not part of the deal, so to speak, right? It's not carte blanche. We don't all of a sudden have access to all of Disney's IP to do whatever we want with it. Now, a lot of people say, well, but it's available on Instagram and other people are using it when they post stuff all the time. Yeah, and you can too for personal posts. Like check me out with my, Cinderella dress on or whatever, right? You could do that all day. I love Cinderella and you can play that. It's when you cross the line and try to use that IP to market a product to get a financial benefit is when it is not allowed. That's the key, is when you try to use that intellectual property to get a financial benefit. That's when you're crossing the line. So again, it goes back to those three things. It can be an approved image, it could be approved words, but maybe not in the right context. Right? You could do that user-generated content, but if you add words to it, the image could be fine. But if you add words like "contact me to buy this," that's when it becomes trying to get financial gain out of it. In fact, I'm going to share this out. I saw this on. Can I share something? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do I have the...
Sure.
Okay, cool. Let me find it here.
Oh.
What I did was, and I'll do this in the context of one of the questions you guys submitted. So kill a couple birds with one stone here. Where's my share? Share.
It should have popped up for you now.
All right. So I Googled, one of the questions was, can I use the word Super Bowl in marketing products, right? So I Googled this. I said, is Super Bowl trademark? The NFL has held the Super Bowl trademark since 1969, right? Any companies that want to use the phrase will need to pay, and that may cost more than $50 million for a catalog like soft drinks, automotive, insurance, or beer. According, it is a trademark phrase that they've had. This is NFL intellectual property, right? So I also searched Super Bowl and I looked at images and then I clicked. So here's what I did. Super Bowl. Images. And I clicked on this. And you see this right down here? Images may be subject to copyright. So they're there on the internet and all that. And I clicked on learn more. And I thought, oh, this is so helpful. What is copyright? And they say, copyright gives owners the exclusive rights to use the work with some exceptions. When a person creates the original work, he or she automatically owns that. So it may be available on the internet, but they own it. And they say, many types of words are eligible for copyright protection, including sound recordings, musical compositions, TV shows, movie videos, paintings, video games, etc. So it's copyrighted. And sometimes you can use copyrighted work, but you'll notice they say it's important to note the content. Wait, what was I looking for? It's possible to use copyrighted work without infringing on the copyright. Where is it? And they say, even if you refrain from monetizing the infringed content. So what they're saying is you can never use copyrighted content to try and get a monetary gain from it, right? You just can't do that. You're infringing on their copyrights and using their intellectual property to get a monetary gain. But you could also be infringing even if you're not trying to get a financial gain. But I thought this was helpful. And then also trademark, right? Copyright is just one form of intellectual property. The Super Bowl is a trademark. It protects brand names, mottos, logos, songs, lyrics, other things like that from being used by others for certain purposes, i.e. trying to get a financial gain. So I thought that might be helpful. Good stuff.
That's very helpful because I don't know about everyone else, but I don't have $50 million in my back pocket right now to use the word Super Bowl. So I will refrain from doing that. But this is really good information. So along the lines of the stories again for Instagram and Facebook, if we were to take a marketing image, but then add those cute little dancing, I guess they're called GIFs like Olaf, are we allowed to do that and cover the images or even put text covering the marketing material saying Harry Potter is re-releasing on February 24th?
Yeah, no is the simple answer there. And in fact, that's also covered in the guidelines. And it's under here, under don't, it says, don't alter any images Scentsy provides. This includes cropping, adding filters, altering colors, or adding words or stickers over the image. But you can add your own full line of text in a caption above or below the image to help promote the products, right? So you can't alter an image we give you, but you can put stuff in the caption all day long to make it your own. What I mentioned, the weird thing with Instagram stories is a lot of times you'll post the image and you'll write something in the caption and Instagram will put it over the image. That's okay, because that wasn't you, that was Instagram doing that. Does that make sense? I'm not a stories expert, but I know that there is that nuance with Instagram stories.
Yes, that makes sense. And also there's the nuance of adding filters where you can make it black and white or lighten or darken the color. And we really need to use those marketing images that are provided to us and for us on our workstations as is. We don't need to alter them in any way, so that way we can protect the intellectual property of our partners.
Yeah, there was a question there I'll answer quickly because can an image be used in Photify? Yes, as long as you're following the marketing guidelines and you don't put images over it and you don't put stickers on it, you don't put words over the top of it, right? You can use it to create a flyer or other things as long as you're following the guidelines and you're not changing or modifying the image. You can use it, you just still need to follow the rules.
Correct.
And like I said, they're relatively simple.
And what about Scentsy Club? You know, we are so excited about Scentsy Club 2.0. And there's been some awesome changes to help enhance the program. One of the questions that came about is with that half off reward, if you will, are we allowed to say get a licensed product at half off? Because I know in our current parties outside of club, we cannot utilize rewards on our licensed products there.
Right. And so we applied the same rules to Scentsy Club. And I'm going to refer you to another FAQ that you can search on the workstation. It's the Scentsy Club FAQ. And on page 1, in the third question, it says, what are the exclusive perks available to Scentsy Club subscribers? And it lists them out. And one of them is the half price item at $60, and there's an asterisk, and below that it says excluding licensed products. The licensed products are not included. A couple of reasons. One, we wanted it to be aligned to the rules for half price items, all the same for our value of simplicity, right? If it was one way in one area and a different way in another, that's confusion. And that's an example of how we use our values to guide what we do. But also the way our financial model is set up, we would not have money left over to pay for the royalty if we allowed licensed products to be put at half price. So that's, you get a little, that's a little look under the hood as to why. I wanted to give you a little extra context and just know it can't be, can't use licensed products in club, but we that's why.
Okay, that's fair enough. And so I know we're getting to the top of the hour, and I'm sure you want to get home with your family and have dinner. I don't know if you've even eaten yet, but so a couple of questions is flyers. Let's say that a consultant is making a flyer to send out to a customer in Happy Mail, like a newsletter, if you will. Is there any leniency there, since it's not on social media, to add images of licensed products? Maybe lifestyle, pictures that were captured if someone took a picture of the Harry Potter warmer or an NFL warmer. Are the same guidelines that are applicable for social media the same for, flyers that are printed or emailed?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there is no separate set of rules for Happy Mail, I guess, right? The rules are the same across digital media, email, and snail mail, right? They're the same rules apply, the same copyrights, the same trademarks apply. There's no, again, if you're using the intellectual property to try to get a financial gain, right? That is misusing someone else's intellectual property. So there is no exception to that rule. Will you get caught? Probably less chance. Will Disney come to us about it? They probably never will see it, but there are no different rules, and I'm not encouraging you to do that. I'm just, there are no, forget I said any of that. It's just, there are no separate rules for the different situations.
That makes sense.
Intellectual property rights are the same. There is no, like, a lawyer wouldn't say, oh, well, you did it in Happy Mail. Don't worry about it. It's okay. It's okay to use somebody else's intellectual property in that regard, right? No, the rules are the same.
Right. So everyone's excited about Harry Potter re-releasing on Thursday. So what we're talking about is we cannot go and make a postcard with the Harry Potter intellectual property or the castle or any of the houses and say, thank you for your order, because that's kind of compromising the marketing agreement that we have. With that being said, if someone were to take a lifestyle picture of, let's say the Muppets, that we had, and it's their own picture in their house, they could share that on social media, correct? To advertise the product. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. You could take the image that's user-generated content, and they could provide a caption saying, see, I think I'm speaking correctly here. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So as long as we follow the marketing guidelines, you'd be okay there. And if there's questions, again, right, it depends on how you use it, the word, the image, the location. So if there are specific questions, then I would submit to compliance.
Absolutely. Okay. And to kind of bring this to a close tonight, everyone's not necessarily a fan of rules. I remember the first day of school going over the rules. I'm like, why do there have to be rules? But rules are in place to protect us as consultants, to protect Scentsy as, a company, and also to maintain these agreements long term. If for some reason someone is found not in compliance, our compliance department isn't meant to be scary. You may receive an email that your account has been suspended And usually that's just to kind of pause things so we can offer an educational opportunity, if you will. So don't be afraid if that's the case. It's just, we don't want to lose any of these partnerships, right, Kevin?
Right, absolutely. Compliance, first step will always be education, right? It will always be education. And if we can show, what consultants have done so far with Disney and I'd say almost all of our partnerships, yeah, we've had small issues here and there, but for the most part, everybody's complying and everybody wants to comply. That's the important part. I think most people want to stay in compliance. And that's where when we are able to provide that education and things get pulled down or they modify it so that it is in compliance, and then we're good. And that's why we haven't had any issues from our partners regarding them being upset about how we're using their intellectual property.
In fact, you said, I think, sorry to interrupt you, Teresa. In fact, you've said that we've been praised by Disney executives, right?
Yeah, Disney's, we've done a much better job than some other companies that they have partnered with that maybe have been in the direct selling world. Not to name any names, but there was a documentary out about them recently. Yeah, it's us having these rules and enforcing these rules is what is maintaining our ability to keep this partnership going and keep offering these awesome products. And again, like I said, and like Teresa pointed out earlier, we've relaxed them and we've simplified them. I think the first time we posted this, it was like 6 or 8 pages long, right? And now it's 1 page with do's and don'ts. Pretty simple. And the key, I think, you get into trouble when I think everybody wants to use Disney's intellectual property to try and sell or products or market the business in a way that makes them unique. And there are ways to do that if you follow the guidelines and user-generated content and some other things. But generally, that's not okay to use someone else's intellectual property in a way that you don't have permission. And that's when we're going to get out of compliance. I want to use the music. I want to use the lyrics. I want to take a picture in the park and say, look, Disney World loves Scentsy, and right, or contact me. Scentsy has a partnership with Disney. Contact me to buy all my stuff, and with a picture of the castle in the background. And that's, again, crossing that line of using IP in a way that we don't already have permission to generate a financial gain or to market the business opportunity.
Yeah, and we would be remiss if we didn't mention eBay and Mercari. Sometimes these hot items, we never know how popular they are. Like Nightmare Before Christmas, it sold out, I think the first time, like within 9 minutes. And so all of a sudden we started seeing things pop up on eBay and Mercari. You can easily get your account suspended by doing that. Outside of our licensing agreement, that is a huge no-no with our company. You can also be fined. So let's say, and the fines can vary. I've seen some fines as high as $1,700, depending on how much you've put out there. It really damages our brand, our company, and also our partnerships as well. One last thing, and I promise we're going to let you go. In the beginning, we could not promote multiple worlds. So for instance, if we have multiple collections at a time, like Stitch, Star Wars, Harry Potter, we can't collaborate all the marketing material on our workstations in one post. Is that correct? Does it still need to be separate worlds?
That is correct. That
Okay.
is correct. The one thing you can do is user-generated content. So if you took a picture of your son or daughter with a Stitch buddy and a Buzz Lightyear buddy and a child buddy and give them a big hug, and you're posting stuff about how much your kid loves all the Disney buddies, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. But again, taking the marketing images, that we have that are approved, we can use those, but you don't want to bring all these different entities together in one post. you'll want to keep it separate to protect their brand. So Kevin, thank you so very much. We are so appreciative of all the executives, and team members at the home office. When we think about the farm where Scentsy began and where we are right now, it seems like a dream, and for us to be a part of it because of your works is just really amazing. So we're very appreciative. And I would like to ask Kelly, and Amber Turner, if you all can kind of close us out tonight with some final thoughts and a thank you to Kevin. This has just been an amazing evening tonight.
Oh, thank you so much. It was my pleasure, and serving you guys and coming to work every day to help try and create an industry-leading business opportunity is one of the most rewarding jobs, the most rewarding job I've ever had, and it's absolutely what we're here at the home office to do. And I supporting you guys and creating opportunities for you guys is just fantastic. So thank you more than anybody, all of you, for all you do out there to share Scentsy with your customers.
Yeah, Kevin, I just want to thank you again so much for all of your hard work on the partnerships. I can't even imagine the legalities and formalities and everything that you have to go through, but it makes our jobs as consultants so much easier, just bringing in new customer base. And I know when I joined 10.5 years ago, I had no idea the blessings that were in store for me. So from the bottom of my heart, seriously, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. We love you, and thank you for taking your time out of your evening. It is 8 o'clock here in Minnesota. I think it's about 7 o'clock where you are, but we all have lives, and this is your corporate job, and some of this is our full-time job. So everybody took time and commitment to be here. So we want to thank you for taking time out of your personal schedule to be here and help us understand. And round of applause for Kevin.
You guys are too kind. This is my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Hope to see you in Disney in April.
I think I'll be there.
Yay. Thank you so much. Good night.
I love you guys. Take good care. Thanks again.